I'd begged a judge to take my daughter away from me. Julie was the kind of baby strangers stopped me on the street to compliment. Big brown eyes, the sweetest little giggle, the type of toddler who shared her goldfish crackers with other kids at the park without anyone telling her to. I genuinely believed I had gotten lucky with her. Then she turned 10, and something behind her eyes just switched off. I was folding laundry in the living room when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Cooper, this is Principal Nguyen from your daughter's school. I need you to come in immediately. What's going on? Is Julie hurt? Was there an accident? The principal went quiet for a moment, which only worried me more. Then said, Mrs. Cooper, your daughter told her teacher that you've been hitting her at home. I actually laughed. That's not possible. There has to be some kind of misunderstanding. Mrs. Cooper, CPS is already here. We need you to come in now. I hung up and just stood there holding a pair of Sean's socks like an idiot. My brain couldn't make sense of what I just heard. I don't really remember the drive to school. Next thing I knew, I was sitting in this tiny room with lights that buzzed too loud and a woman from Child Protective Services staring at me across a table. She didn't introduce herself or shake my hand. She just opened a folder and said, How often do you discipline Julie physically? Never. I don't hit my children. She wrote something down without looking at me. Have you ever left marks on her body during an argument? No. What? No. She's 10 years old. We don't have arguments. She's a child. Does your husband know what happens when he's not home? I leaned forward and said, Nothing happens when he's not home. I make dinner and help with homework and watch TV with my kids. That's it. That's what happens. She just nodded and wrote something else down. I started crying then. I couldn't help it. Please. I don't understand what's happening. I've never hurt my daughter. I would never hurt my daughter. The woman looked at me for the first time with something that might have been pity. Mrs. Cooper, we have to investigate all reports. It's the law. They made me sit there for 3 hours while strangers examined my daughter's body. Through the window, I could see Julie in the next room. A nurse was checking her arms and legs and back. Julie was chatting with her about something, and at one point she laughed. She laughed. My life was falling apart, 20 feet away, and my daughter was laughing with the nurse who was looking for bruises I never left. When they finally let me see her, she was in the counselor's office coloring a picture of a rainbow. Totally calm. She looked up when I walked in, and I searched her face for something that made sense. Fear or guilt or confusion. Anything. There was nothing. I kneeled down next to her and grabbed her hands. Julie, baby, why did you tell them I hurt you? You know that's not true. She just shrugged. I don't know, I just did. I tried my best to smile. Sweetheart, you're not in trouble. I just need to understand what happened. Did someone tell you to say that? Did someone hurt you and you're scared to tell us who? Julie looked at me like I was speaking another language. No, nothing happened. I just said it. She pulled her hands away from mine and went back to coloring. Can we get pizza tonight? I'm hungry. The investigation to clear my name took 2 weeks. 14 days of strangers opening my kitchen drawers and checking my son Brian's arms for bruises. Every time someone knocked on the door, I wanted to throw up. Julie would answer it before I could and say, Hi, are you here to check on us again? Like they were neighbors bringing cookies. 14 days of Sean sleeping on his side of the bed like there was a wall between us. One night, I turned to him and whispered, Do you believe me? He didn't answer for so long I thought he'd fallen asleep. Then he said, Of course I believe you. But that pause told me everything I needed to know. They cleared me because there was nothing to find. The caseworker sat us down and said, Children sometimes make false reports when they're seeking attention. I recommend family therapy. I smiled and nodded because what else could I do? That night, I found Julie in her room doing homework like nothing had happened. I stood in her doorway and said, Julie, I need you to explain this to me. Why did you lie? Do you understand what almost happened to our family? She put her pencil down and looked at me with those big brown eyes I'd loved since the doctor first placed her on my chest. I just wanted to see what would happen. I waited for more like a sorry, a reason, or an explanation that would make any of this make sense. That's it? You just wanted to see? Yeah. My words almost destroyed you. She smiled like she'd made a breakthrough in a science experiment. Can you close my door? I have a lot of homework. I stood there staring at the back of her head. My 10-year-old daughter had watched strangers pull our family apart for 2 weeks. She watched me cry, watched her father doubt me, and she felt nothing but satisfaction. I thought the worst was over after CPS closed our case, but I was wrong. Julie didn't stop watching me after that night in her doorway. She watched how I flinched when the phone rang and how I held my breath every time someone knocked on our door. She watched me become afraid of her, and I swear something about that made her happy. I caught her staring at my brother Reed one night at dinner with the same curious look she had when she told me her words almost destroyed me. That's when I knew this wasn't over. She wasn't done experimenting, and her lies went on to destroy 3 people. The first lie that destroyed someone other than me came 3 months later at my brother Reed's 30th birthday party. Reed had always been Julie's favorite person in our family. He was the fun uncle who showed up with ice cream for no reason and let her stay up late watching movies when he babysat. He'd been there the day she was born and cried harder than Sean did when he held her for the first time. Reed never married or had kids of his own, so he poured all that love into Julie and Brian instead. My mother had rented out the back room of Reed's favorite restaurant for the party. There were about 30 people there, including aunts and uncles and cousins, and Reed's girlfriend Carly, who he'd been dating for almost 2 years. Julie had begged to come, even though I was hesitant to bring her anywhere after everything that happened. She promised she would behave, and I wanted so badly to believe that the family therapy was working. Reed lit up when he saw her walk in and immediately pulled her into a bear hug. "There's my favorite niece. I was worried you weren't going to make it." Julie hugged him back and said, "I wouldn't miss your birthday, Uncle Reed. I made you a card." She handed him a handmade card with glitter and stickers, and he made a huge deal about it the way he always did with anything she gave him. I watched them together and felt something loosen in my chest. Maybe things really were getting better. Maybe Julie was learning to be a normal kid again. We were about halfway through dinner when Julie said she needed to use the bathroom. I offered to go with her, but she rolled her eyes and said, "Mom, I'm 10. I think I can pee by myself." Everyone at our table laughed, and my aunt patted my hand and said, "She's growing up, Susanna. You have to let them have some independence." So I let her go alone. I didn't think anything of it when she was gone for 10 minutes. I figured she was probably playing games on her phone or fixing her hair in the mirror the way preteen girls do. Then the police walked into the restaurant. 2 officers came through the front door and spoke quietly to the hostess, who pointed toward our private room. Everyone at the party noticed them at the same time. Conversations trailed off one by one until the whole room was silent. Reed stood up from his seat at the head of the table and said, "Can I help you, officers? Is something wrong?" The first officer looked at him and said, "Are you Reed Cooper?" Reed nodded, and the officer continued, "Sir, we got a 911 call from this location about 15 minutes ago. A young girl said she's been sexually abusing her by a family member. She identified you by name." Reed blinked at him like the words weren't translating into English. "I'm sorry, what? Sexually abusing? Who said that? I don't understand what you're saying to me right now." The second officer stepped forward. "Sir, the caller said you've been touching her inappropriately for years and she's scared for her safety tonight." Reed grabbed the edge of the table like he needed it to stay standing. No. That's not real. I would never do that. I don't even know who would say that. Who called you? Which girl?" His voice cracked on the last word, and I watched his eyes start to fill with tears. "I coach Little League. I volunteer at the Children's Hospital. I would never hurt a child. You have to believe me. Someone is lying. I swear to God, someone is lying." He looked around the room at our family members who were all frozen in their seats staring at him. "Mom? Susanna? Tell them. Tell them I would never do something like this, please. Someone tell them this is a mistake." My mother had her hand over her mouth and tears streaming down her face. She couldn't speak. Nobody could. Reed turned back to the officers and his whole body was shaking now. "Please, I'm begging you. I didn't do anything. I've never touched anyone. Whoever called you is lying. Please. You have to believe me." I stood up from my chair so fast it fell backwards. This had to be Julie. I was sure of it. "Where's Julie? Where is my daughter?" The second officer looked at me and said, "Ma'am, the caller identified herself as Julie Cooper. She's currently in our patrol car." My face didn't just fall. It collapsed. I was right, and I needed to stop her from ruining my brother's life. I pushed past my mother and my aunts and ran through the restaurant toward the front door. I could hear people calling after me, but I didn't stop. I burst outside and saw the patrol car parked at the curb with its lights off. And there was Julie sitting in the back seat looking out the window at me with an expression I can only describe as satisfied. Not scared. Not upset. Satisfied. Like a scientist watching her experiment produce exactly the results she predicted. I yanked the car door open and the officer behind me yelled, "Ma'am, you can't do that!" But I didn't care. I crouched down so I was eye level with Julie and said, "What did you do? Tell me right now what you told them." Julie tilted her head to the side the way she always did when she was studying someone. "I told them Uncle Reed touches me when we're alone. He's been doing it since I was 8. I told them I was scared to tell anyone because he said he would hurt you if I did." Every word hit me like a physical blow. "Julie, none of that is true. Why would you say something like this? Reed loves you more than anyone. He would do anything for you." Julie shrugged like I'd asked her why she colored the sky purple instead of blue. "That's why, Mom. When bad stuff happens to mean people, nobody even cares. But Uncle Reed is everyone's favorite. I wanted to see what would happen if I made everyone stop liking him." I sat there hearing every word, not knowing how to respond or what made her think this way. The officers pulled me away from the car. One of them kept asking if I was okay, and the other was talking into his radio about needing additional units for a possible domestic situation. I tried to tell them my daughter was lying, that she had a history of making false accusations, that my brother had never touched her, but I could see in their faces that they didn't believe me. Why would they? I was a mother trying to protect a family member from allegations made by a child. To them, I was exactly the kind of person who would lie to cover up abuse. They took Reed in for questioning that night. right there at his birthday party in front of everyone he loved. They put him in the back of a police car while his girlfriend sobbed on the sidewalk and our mom held onto a parking meter to keep from collapsing. I watched my brother's life end in real time. His dignity, his reputation, his relationships. All of it gone in the time it took Julie to make a 3-minute phone call from a restaurant bathroom. Reed was released after 8 hours of interrogation. My mother and I waited in the police station lobby the entire time. Every hour felt like a week. When he finally came out, he looked like a different person. His eyes were hollow and red. His voice was hoarse from talking and crying. He told us they made him sit in a cold room with a metal table, while 2 detectives took turns asking him the same questions over and over. Where were you on this date? What were you doing on this date? They asked him things so explicit he couldn't even repeat them to us. They kept saying, kids don't make this stuff up, and why would she lie about something like this, no matter how many times he told them he didn't do anything wrong. But then Julie's story fell apart because she couldn't keep her details straight. She said it happened at Grandma's house, but then changed it to our house. She said it started when she was 8, but then said 9. She contradicted herself so many times the detectives started to realize something was off. But none of that mattered. The damage was already done. Carly broke up with Reed 2 days later. She said she couldn't be with someone who had an accusation like that hanging over him, even if it wasn't true. Reed's job put him on leave. His neighbors stopped looking at him. Someone threw a rock through his car window with a note taped to it that said, "We know what you are." I went home after everything settled down and found Julie in her room doing homework like nothing had happened. She looked up when I walked in and said, "Is Uncle Reed mad at me?" I hope he's not mad. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to shake her and make her understand what she'd done. But she'd probably give me another abuse allegation that I couldn't defend myself against this time. Julie. Uncle Reed's life is ruined. Carly left him. He might lose his job. People think he's a monster now. Julie twirled her pencil between her fingers. That's crazy. I didn't even have to try that hard. I just made my voice shaky and said I was scared and they believed every word. She said it so innocently like it was a small thing. Something fixable. They did believe me, right? At least for a little bit. Because Uncle Reed was crying and Grandma was crying and everyone looked really scared. She went back to her homework then muttered, "I've never seen Uncle Reed cry before." The second lie came 2 months after Reed's birthday party. I pulled into my driveway after work and saw 2 police cars parked in front of my house with their lights still flashing. My front door was wide open. Months ago, I would have panicked. I would have assumed someone broke in, or Julie was hurt, or something terrible had happened. But that was before I knew what my daughter was capable of. Now my first thought was, what did she do this time, and who did she do it to? I sat in my car for a full minute, just staring at my house, trying to prepare myself for whatever mess was waiting inside. When I walked through the front door, I found 4 officers going through my kitchen cabinets while Julie sat at the table doing homework like it was a normal Tuesday afternoon. She looked up when I came in and waved at me. "Hi, Mom. The police are here." An officer walked over to me and said, "Are you Susanna Cooper?" I said yes, and he handed me a piece of paper. "We're here to search your house. Your daughter told her school nurse she found substances in your purse." I didn't even look at the warrant. I looked past him at Julie, who was pretending to focus on her math worksheet, but I could see the smallest hint of a smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. She was enjoying this. "Officer, I need you to listen to me," I said. "My daughter is lying. She's been lying about me and other people. She accused me of hitting her. She accused my brother of touching her 3 months ago at his birthday party. She lies constantly and she does it on purpose to hurt people." The officer's face didn't change. "Ma'am, we have to follow up when a kid reports something like this." I cut him off. "There are no substances in this house. There never have been. I don't even drink. My daughter made this up because she wanted to see what would happen. That's what she does. She makes things up to see how much damage her words can cause." Julie looked up from her homework with wide, innocent eyes. "Mom, I was just worried about you. I saw the white stuff in your purse and I got scared. I didn't want you to get sick." Her voice was soft and concerned and completely fake. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her by the shoulders and shake her until the real Julie came out. But the officers were watching me, and I knew how it would look if I lost my temper with my daughter right now. "She's lying," I said again. But I could hear how desperate I sounded. How crazy. "Check my purse. Check my whole house. You won't find anything. And then I need you to understand that my daughter has a serious problem and she's using the police and CPS to hurt people." The officer nodded, but I could tell he wasn't really listening. "Ma'am, we'll do our search, and if there's nothing here, then there's nothing to worry about." But that wasn't true. I had everything to worry about. The third lie almost cost me my son. I was making dinner when I heard Julie screaming from upstairs. I dropped the pot and ran up the stairs so fast I almost tripped. When I got to Julie's room, she was sitting on the floor holding her arm, with blood pouring through her fingers. The scissors from her desk were on the carpet next to her, covered in red. Brian was in the corner shaking with his back pressed against the wall. My eyes went straight to Julie's face. She was crying, but something about it looked rehearsed. I'd seen real pain on my daughter's face before. This wasn't it. "Brian stabbed me!" Julie sobbed. He came in and stabbed me with the scissors. Mommy, it hurts. I looked at Brian, my sweet 8-year-old who cried when he accidentally stepped on a caterpillar last summer. He was terrified. I didn't, Mom. I didn't touch her. She did it to herself. I grabbed a towel and pressed it to Julie's arm, but I leaned in close to her face and whispered so Brian couldn't hear. I know you did this to yourself. I know exactly what you're doing. You're not going to destroy your brother the way you destroyed Uncle Reed. I won't let you. Julie's sobbing stopped for just a second. She looked at me and the mask slipped. Her eyes went cold and empty. Prove it, she whispered back. No one's going to believe you. They never do. Then the tears started again like someone flipped a switch. Mommy, why are you being mean to me? Brian hurt me and you're being mean to me. At the hospital, the doctor pulled me aside after 11 stitches. Mrs. Cooper, your daughter says her brother attacked her. I have to recommend Brian be evaluated at a facility for children with violent tendencies. We see cases like this escalate. Today it's scissors. Tomorrow it could be worse. I felt sick. This was exactly what Julie wanted. Brian was in a plastic chair in the hallway crying so hard he couldn't breathe. Mommy, I didn't do it. I promise I didn't. She hurt herself. I saw her. Please, Mommy. I want to go home. I don't want to go away. Please. I kneeled down and held his face. I believe you, baby. No one is taking you anywhere. I promise you. Mommy's going to fix this. I kissed his forehead and wiped his tears with my thumbs. I stood up and faced the doctor. My daughter did this to herself. She has a history of false accusations against family members. She accused me of abuse. She accused my brother of touching her. My son is innocent, and I will fight anyone who tries to take him from me. The doctor crossed her arms. Mrs. Cooper, I understand this is hard to hear, but I have a duty to protect both of your children. Your daughter has a serious wound, and your son... I cut her off. My son is the victim here, not Julie. When I walked into that room, Brian was across the room in the corner. There was no blood on his hands or clothes. The scissors were on the floor next to Julie. My daughter did this to herself and blamed him because that's what she does. She lies. She hurts people. She's destroyed multiple lives already, and she tried to add her little brother to the list tonight. So no, you're not sending Brian anywhere. You can call CPS. You can call whoever you want, but my son is coming home with me. The doctor looked uncertain for the first time. Behind her, Julie watched from the hospital bed. When no one else was looking, she tilted her head at me and mouthed 3 words. I always win. After the hospital, I knew I couldn't handle this alone. She tried to destroy all of us without blinking. I needed someone who could see what I was seeing. Someone who would believe me when I said my daughter wasn't just troubled. She was dangerous. I found a therapist who specialized in kids like Julie. And for the first time in months, I let myself hope again. That was my mistake. The night after the hospital, Sean and I sat at the kitchen table after the kids were asleep. He looked at me with tired eyes and said something I'd been waiting to hear for months. I believe you, Susanna. About Julie, about all of it. I saw Brian's face in that hospital. That kid didn't hurt anyone. I almost started crying right there. She's getting worse, Sean. I don't know how to stop her. Sean rubbed his face with both hands. We need help. Real help. Not those therapists who just nod and ask her about her feelings. Someone who actually knows how to deal with kids like this. Kids like what? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. Kids who lie like breathing, who hurt people on purpose. He looked at me, and I could see how much it cost him to say the next part. Kids who might not be fixable. We spent the next week calling every specialist we could find. Most of them had wait lists that stretched into next year. Some listened to what Julie had done and said her case was too severe for them. One guy actually told us we were probably making it sound worse than it was because kids don't really act like that. Sean had to take the phone from me before I said something I'd regret. Then we found Dr. Klein. She'd been working with troubled kids for over 20 years. She knew all about children who manipulate and lie without feeling bad about it. She'd even testified in court cases about minors who showed early warning signs of serious behavioral problems. I called her office expecting another waitlist or another no. Instead, her assistant put me through right away, and Dr. Klein picked up on the second ring. Mrs. Cooper, I heard about your situation from a colleague. Tell me about Julie. So I did. I talked for almost an hour straight, and she didn't interrupt once. When I finally stopped, she was quiet for a second and then said, "Bring her in tomorrow. I want to meet her myself." Her office surprised me. No bright colors or stuffed animals or silly posters like the other therapists had. Just plain walls and regular chairs and a desk covered in files. Dr. Klein was a small woman in her 50s with gray hair and glasses. She looked like she could be anyone's grandma. But when she looked at me, I felt like she could see right through me. "I'm going to be straight with you," she said before the first session. "Kids like Julie are really good at fooling adults. They know exactly what to say to get what they want. I've been doing this for 20 years and I've been tricked before. So I'm going to take my time with her. And I need you to tell me everything that happens at home, even the stuff that makes her look bad. Especially that stuff. Can you do that?" I nodded. At that point, I would have agreed to anything. Julie's first session did not go well. I sat in the waiting room listening to muffled voices through the wall. When the door finally opened, Julie walked out looking irritated, and Dr. Klein looked like she was thinking hard about something. She spent the whole hour trying to figure me out, Dr. Klein told me quietly, while Julie flipped through magazines across the room. Testing to see what kind of therapist I am. What approach might work on me? She's very smart. This is going to take a while. The second session was even harder. Julie came out with tears streaming down her face saying Dr. Klein was horrible, and she refused to go back ever again. Everything in me wanted to cave, to pull her out, to find someone easier. But Dr. Klein had warned me about this. When she realizes she can't control me, she'll try to use you to escape therapy. You can't let her. So I told Julie she was going back whether she liked it or not. She screamed at me in the parking lot for almost half an hour while other parents stared. I just stood there waiting for her to run out of energy. Something changed during the third session. Dr. Klein asked me to come into her office while Julie waited outside looking angry. She messed up today, Dr. Klein said, and there was something almost excited in her voice. I asked her about one of her lies and she started giving me her usual practiced answer. But then she stopped in the middle of it. She looked right at me and said, "You're not going to fall for it anyway, so why am I even bothering?" That's the first honest thing she said to me. Is that a good thing? It means her usual games aren't working. She's getting frustrated, and frustrated people make mistakes. That's how we start making progress. The next few weeks, Julie was different. She was quiet after her lessons, less performative. She stopped telling me how awful Dr. Klein was, and started just going straight to her room without saying anything. One night at dinner, she put down her fork and looked at me. Dr. Klein asked me why I told everyone you hit me. She made me actually think about it, not just come up with an excuse. I stopped chewing. What did you say? Julie moved her food around her plate. I said I don't know, and I meant it. I really don't know why I did it. It was just something I could do, so I did. Not an apology. Not even really admitting it was wrong. But it was the first time Julie had ever acknowledged a lie without trying to blame someone else. I didn't know how to respond, so I just nodded, and we finished eating in silence. After a month, Dr. Klein started bringing me into sessions with Julie. The first one was painful. Julie crossed her arms and stared at the wall, while Dr. Klein tried to get her to talk. But by the third family session, something was different. Julie was actually participating. At one point, Dr. Klein asked her how it felt when CPS showed up at our house, and Julie said, "Powerful, like I could make things happen just by saying words." Then she paused. But the feeling went away really fast. Then I needed to do something bigger to get it back. Dr. Klein nodded. That's called diminishing returns, Julie. The more you chase a feeling, the harder it gets to catch. You have to keep doing worse and worse things to feel the same way. That's why your lies kept getting more serious. Julie got quiet after that. Then she looked at me, and her face was softer than I'd seen it in years. "Mom, do you hate me?" I wasn't ready for that question. "What?" "No. Julie, I don't hate you. You scare me sometimes. You make me angry a lot, but I could never hate you." Even after Uncle Reed? Even after that? Julie's eyes got shiny. Not the fake tears she could turn on whenever she wanted. Real ones that she was fighting to hold back. I don't get why I did that to him. Uncle Reed was nice to me. I don't know why I wanted to make him cry. Dr. Klein leaned forward in her chair. That's a big step, Julie. Realizing you don't understand your own behavior is where change starts. 2 months in, Julie apologized to Brian. I wasn't trying to listen, but I was walking past her room and heard his name. "Brian, I'm sorry about the scissors thing. That was really messed up. You didn't do anything wrong." Brian's voice was careful, guarded. "Did your boo-boo doctor make you say that?" "No, I mean, yeah, she said I should say sorry, but that's not why I'm doing it. I actually feel bad. You're my little brother and I tried to get you sent away. That was wrong." Silence. Then Brian said, "Okay, thanks, I guess." Not exactly a heartwarming moment. Brian was still scared of Julie, and honestly, he had every right to be. But the fact that she apologized at all was something. Julie never said sorry, never admitted fault. Something real was happening. By the end of month 3, I caught myself believing things might actually turn out okay. Julie did homework without being nagged. She helped set the table without being asked. She invited me to watch a movie with her one night, and we sat together eating popcorn and laughing at dumb jokes on screen. For 2 hours, I forgot everything she'd done. She fell asleep leaning against my shoulder, and I sat there crying quietly in the dark because I missed this so much. My little girl. Maybe she was coming back to me. Dr. Klein called after their session that week. She sounded cautious but hopeful. "She's making real progress, Susanna. We still have far to go, but I'm seeing genuine change in how she responds to things. She's starting to connect her actions to consequences in a way she couldn't before." "Do you think she's really getting better?" I needed to hear the words out loud. "I think she's learning. Time will tell if it sticks. But yes, I have hope." I let that word sink into me after I hung up. Hope. I hadn't felt that in so long I almost forgot what it was like. Maybe Julie wouldn't become the monster I was afraid she was turning into. Maybe Dr. Klein had found a way to reach her. Maybe we could heal. That weekend we went to the zoo as a family to celebrate. It was the first real outing since everything fell apart that didn't feel like I was waiting for a bomb to go off. Julie held Brian's hand when they walked through the snake exhibit because he was nervous. She gave him half her cotton candy without him even asking. She laughed at the penguins and took silly photos and acted like a regular 10-year-old. When we got home, she hugged me tight and said, "Thanks, Mom. That was the best day." I held her and breathed in her shampoo and let myself think this is how it was supposed to be. This is who my daughter was always meant to be. Dr. Klein was putting her back together. We were going to make it. Then the school called. I was at work when my phone lit up with the school's number. My first thought was completely calm, just like it had been the first time I got a call from the school. Maybe Julie forgot her lunch or needed to come home early. That's how relaxed I had let myself get. That's how convinced I was that things had changed. "Mrs. Cooper, this is Principal Nguyen. Julie's in trouble again. Please come over right away." I didn't let myself lose hope that my daughter had changed, though. I kept telling myself it could be anything. She got into a fight or she cheated on a test or something. Mine or got blown out of proportion. I didn't want to let myself believe that she had made another serious accusation that would ruin someone's life. But deep down in a place I'd been trying to ignore for 3 months, a voice was screaming, "You know exactly what she did." Principal Nguyen walked me to a conference room where 2 strangers waited. A woman and a man in a suit who said he was from the district. Julie wasn't there. Neither was Sean. Just me facing 3 people who already looked like they'd made up their minds about something. "Please sit, Mrs. Cooper," Principal Nguyen said. "This is Petra and Raymond. They need to tell you something." She seemed like she was choosing her words carefully, but I was so done. I sighed. "Just tell me, what did she do now?" The woman's eyebrows shot up. "Excuse me? What did she do?" "Mrs. Cooper, your daughter came to me this morning shaking and crying. She told me her therapist, Dr. Klein, has been touching her during their private sessions for the past 2 months. I didn't grab the table this time. I just laughed. A real laugh. The kind that comes out when something is so ridiculous your body doesn't know how else to respond. No. Absolutely not. Dr. Klein is the only reason Julie has made any progress at all. My daughter is lying." Petra's face went hard. "Your daughter is lying? Your 10-year-old daughter came to me hyperventilating and told me a grown woman has been hurting her and your first reaction is to call her a liar?" "Yes, because that's what she does. She lies. She's been lying about people for months. She told people I hit her. She called 911 and said my brother was touching her. She hurt herself with scissors and blamed her 8-year-old brother. So yes, my first reaction when my daughter accuses someone of something horrible is that she's lying because she has never once told the truth." Raymond leaned forward. "Mrs. Cooper, I'm hearing you list off multiple serious allegations your daughter has made. Has it occurred to you that maybe your daughter has been a victim multiple times and you failed to protect her?" I felt like he'd slapped me. "What? You just told us she's accused you, your brother, and now her therapist. 3 different people, 3 different situations. And your response every single time has been to call her a liar." He shook his head. "I've seen this before. Family members who refuse to believe children because the truth is too uncomfortable. That's not what's happening here. You don't understand. She admitted to lying about my brother. She told me to my face that she..." Petra cut me off. "Mrs. Cooper, children who have been abused often change their stories because they're scared or pressured by family members to take it back. The fact that she admitted to lying doesn't mean she was actually lying. It might mean someone, you, made her feel like she had to protect her abuser." I stood up so fast my chair flew backwards and hit the wall. "Are you serious right now? Are you actually sitting there telling me that my brother abused my daughter? That I've been letting people hurt her? You don't know anything. You met my daughter one time and you think you know more than me." "I know what a scared little girl looks like," Petra said coldly. "And I know what a mother in denial looks like. I'm looking at one right now. I am not in denial. My daughter is a manipulator." Principal Nguyen held up both hands. "Mrs. Cooper, you need to calm down." "Don't tell me to calm down. You're about to ruin an innocent woman's life because my daughter knows exactly how to make people believe her. She's been practicing for months. She knows that if she cries hard enough and shakes hard enough, everyone will take her side, and I'll look crazy for saying otherwise, which is exactly what's happening right now." The district man stood up. "Mrs. Cooper, Dr. Klein has already been suspended pending investigation. The police and licensing board have been notified. This is happening whether you support your daughter or not." He paused and looked at me with something close to disgust. "I feel sorry for Julie. Every child deserves a mother who believes them." I wanted to throw something. I wanted to scream until my throat bled. I wanted to grab this man by his stupid tie and shake him until he understood. But I knew how that would look. Crazy mom. Violent mom. Mom who probably did hit her kid. "Where is she?" My voice came out like broken glass. "My office," Petra said. "She wanted to wait somewhere she felt safe, away from you." I walked out without another word. They yelled something after me, but I couldn't hear it over the blood pounding in my ears. Down the hall, past the lockers, past kids who stared at the crazy lady speed walking through their school. I pushed open the counselor's office door so hard it banged against the wall. Julie sat by the window. Red eyes, wet face, tissue twisted in her hands. She looked up when I came in and her whole body seemed to shrink. Mom, I'm so sorry. I know you really like Dr. Klein. I didn't want to say anything, but she kept doing stuff and I didn't know what to do. I shut the door and walked over and got down on my knees so we were eye to eye. I could see Petra running down the hallway toward us through the window, but I didn't care. You destroyed the only person who was actually helping you, I said, quiet enough that only she could hear. Why? Because she was getting too close? Because she was actually starting to figure you out? Julie's crying slowed down. Her face changed, like watching someone take off a Halloween mask. The scared little girl melted away and something else looked back at me. Calm, cold, satisfied. She thought she was so smart, Julie whispered. She thought she could fix me. Nobody can fix me, Mom. I don't want to be fixed. Then she looked past me at Petra, who was almost at the door, and her face crumpled back into terror. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. Her voice came out high and scared. Mommy, stop yelling at me! I told the truth. Why are you always so mean to me? Petra burst in and shoved herself between us. That's enough, Mrs. Cooper. Step away from her right now. I looked at Julie over Petra's shoulder. My daughter stared back with tears streaming down her face, chest heaving, looking exactly like a child who'd just been terrorized by her own mother. But for 1 second, her eyes met mine and I saw it. The real Julie underneath. Smiling. She mouthed 3 words. I always win. Dr. Klein called me that night from a blocked number. Her voice was wrecked and hoarse like she'd been crying for hours. Susanna, I need you to know I never touched Julie. Not once. Not ever. I have recordings, notes, documentation of every single session. But it doesn't matter. People already made up their minds. I know it's not true, I told her. I know she's lying. I tried to explain, but they wouldn't listen. They never do. She laughed, but there was nothing funny about it. 20 years of helping kids like her. Research, court cases, published papers, all of it gone because a 10-year-old decided I was standing in her way. I should have warned you more. You warned me plenty. I knew the risks going in. I've dealt with manipulative children before. I thought I could handle it. Long pause. When she spoke again, her voice cracked. She's different, Susanna. I've never met a child like Julie. She doesn't lie because she wants attention or because she can't help it. She lies because she enjoys watching everything burn. She's 10 years old. That terrifies me. I didn't say anything because what was there to say? I'd been living with that terror for months. What happens now? I finally asked. I fight. Try to clear my name. Hope there's something left of my career when it's over. I heard her take a shaky breath. But even if I'm cleared completely, there will always be people who suspect. Your daughter guaranteed that. We hung up and I sat alone in my kitchen for a long time. Julie was upstairs in her room. Homework, probably. Brian was sleeping at my mom's house because I couldn't risk having him here right now. The house felt too quiet, too still. Just the occasional sound of Julie's footsteps above me pacing back and forth. She spent 3 months fooling everyone, including me, studying Dr. Klein, learning what made her tick, earning trust, playing the part of a recovering child. All of it a performance, all of it leading up to this moment. And I bought every second of it. Let my guard down completely. Let myself believe my daughter was changing. Julie came downstairs around 9 to grab a glass of water. She paused next to where I sat in the dim kitchen and rested her hand on my shoulder. I'm really sorry today was so hard, Mom. I know you trusted Dr. Klein. It must feel awful finding out what she really was. I couldn't look at her, couldn't speak, couldn't move. Julie gave my shoulder a gentle squeeze. Don't worry, though. We'll find another therapist. A better one this time. Someone who actually wants to help me get better. She headed back upstairs, humming something under her breath. Some tune I didn't recognize. Cheerful. Light. I listened to her footsteps fade and understood finally that I had nowhere left to turn. Every person who tried to help was gone now. Every person who might have believed me had been taken out one by one. My daughter had systematically removed every possible threat to her, and somewhere above me she was celebrating another victory while I sat in the dark wondering what she would destroy next. I started paying closer attention after that, to the way Julie used my laptop when she thought I wasn't watching, and to the notebooks she kept hidden under her mattress, and to the way she looked at Sean sometimes when he wasn't paying attention. Something was different now. Before she had been reacting to things, lying when opportunities came up naturally. But this felt planned and calculated, like she was studying for a test nobody else knew was coming. I didn't know what she was preparing for yet, but I knew I had to prepare for whatever she was going to throw at me again. The morning after Dr. Klein called Julie came downstairs for breakfast, like nothing had happened. She poured herself a bowl of cereal and sat across from me at the table. Morning, Mom. Did you sleep okay? I didn't answer. I just stared at my coffee. Julie tried again. I was thinking maybe we could go to the mall this weekend. Just me and you. We haven't done that in a while. Still nothing from me. Julie's face fell into something that looked like hurt. Mom? Are you mad at me? You're not talking to me. Her voice got small and wobbly. I looked up at her and saw the performance happening in real time. The sad eyes, the pouty lip, the concerned daughter worried about her mother. None of it was real, but she was so good at it that for a second I almost felt bad for ignoring her. Almost. I'm fine, Julie. Finish your breakfast or you'll miss the bus. She watched me for another moment like she was trying to figure out what I was thinking. Then she shrugged and went back to eating. When she left for school, she called out, "Love you, Mom," from the front door. I didn't say it back. I waited until the bus turned the corner. Then I went upstairs to her room and started looking for clues. I started with her dresser drawers and found nothing. Checked under her mattress and found nothing. Looked through her closet and her backpack and her desk and came up empty every single time. Either she was really good at covering her tracks or she wasn't planning anything else. I was about to give up when I noticed one of the floorboards near her closet looked slightly different than the others. The wood was the same color, but the edges were worn down like something had been prying it up over and over again. I got down on my knees and worked my fingers under the edge. The board lifted easily. Underneath was a spiral notebook with a purple cover and Julie's name written on the front in glitter pen. My hands were shaking when I opened it. The first page had a title written in careful handwriting, "Things I Learned." Below it was a numbered list. 1. Crying works better on women than men. 2. Shaking makes people believe you faster. 3. Add details but not too many or you forget them. 4. Pick people everyone likes so it hurts more when they fall. 5. Never admit anything even if they know you're lying. I turned the page and found something worse. A chart with columns labeled Who, What I Said, Who Believed Me, and Rating. The first row said Mom and She Hits Me and Teacher, CPS Lady, Principal, and 7 out of 10 didn't stick but got attention. The second row said Uncle Reed and listed everything she'd accused him of in detail. I don't want to repeat. The rating was 10 out of 10. Girlfriend left, job gone, everyone hates him now. The third row was about the substance accusation. The fourth was about Brian and the scissors. The fifth was Dr. Klein. She was keeping score. My daughter was literally keeping score of how many lives she'd ruined and rating them like movie reviews. I wanted to throw up. I wanted to scream. I wanted to take this notebook and shove it in the face of every person who ever looked at me like I was crazy for not believing my own child. But I kept turning pages because I needed to see how deep this went. The next section was different. It wasn't a record of things she'd already done. It was a plan for something she hadn't done yet. At the top of the page, she'd written, Dad, with a heart next to it. Below that were notes in her careful handwriting. Say he locks me in the basement when I'm bad. Say there's no light and it's cold and I have to stay there for hours. Say he told me not to tell anyone or it would get worse. Cry a lot, shake, don't look at him when I say it. Best time? When Mom is at work so she can't defend him. At the bottom of the page was a date circled in red marker. 3 days from now. I sat on my daughter's bedroom floor holding that notebook and felt something inside me snap. My daughter was going to accuse her own father of locking her in our basement. She was going to destroy the last person in this family who still believed me, and she had it scheduled like a dentist appointment. I needed more evidence. Julie's laptop was on her desk. I opened it and checked the browser history, which was mostly cleared, but she'd missed a few things. A website about signs your child is being imprisoned at home. An article called, What Happens When CPS Finds Out About Child Abuse? A forum post asking, How long do parents go to jail for locking kids in rooms? She'd been researching and studying and making sure her story would hold up to whatever questions people asked. I heard the front door open downstairs. Sean's voice called up, Susanna, you home? I forgot my laptop charger. I grabbed Julie's notebook and shoved it in my shirt, closed her laptop, stood up too fast and had to grab the wall to keep from falling over. Up here! My voice came out wrong, too high, too tight. Sean appeared in the doorway and looked at me standing in the middle of Julie's room. What are you doing? I pulled the notebook out and held it up. We need to talk right now before she gets home from school. His face went from confused to concerned. What is that? What's going on? Our daughter is planning to accuse you of locking her in the basement. She has a date picked out. She has a script written. She's been researching what happens to parents who get caught. I pushed the notebook into his hands. Read it. Read all of it. And then help me figure out how to stop her before she destroys you too. Sean read every page twice. When he finished, he looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not fear, not sadness. Rage. The kind that doesn't burn hot but sits cold and quiet until it finds a target. She's not going to get the chance, he said. We're ending this. I didn't ask what he meant because I already knew. We were done playing defense and waiting for Julie to strike. This time we were going to strike first. Sean read every page twice. When he finished, he looked at me and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not fear, not sadness, rage. The kind that doesn't burn hot but sits cold and quiet until it finds a target. She's not going to get the chance, he said. We're ending this. I didn't ask what he meant because I already knew. We were done playing defense and waiting for Julie to strike. This time, we were going to strike first. We drove to the police station after Sean finished reading. We had her notebook and laptop with us. Neither of us said anything on the drive. There was nothing left to say. We both knew what we had to do, and we both knew what it might cost us. When we got to the station, I walked up to the first available officer and said, I need to report my daughter for making false allegations against multiple people. I have evidence. The officer looked at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. You want to report your own daughter? I told him everything that happened up until this point and showed him her laptop. The officer exchanged a look with another officer nearby. I knew what that look meant. They thought I was crazy. Another parent in denial trying to cover up abuse by blaming the victim. Please, Sean said. His voice was steady, but I could hear the tension underneath. Just look at what we brought. 5 minutes. That's all we're asking. Something in Sean's tone must have landed because the officer nodded slowly. All right, wait here. I'm going to get a detective. 15 minutes later, we were sitting in a small room with beige walls and a table that had seen better days. Detective Stokes was a woman in her 40s with short gray hair and reading glasses pushed up on her head. She didn't shake our hands or smile or try to make us comfortable. She just sat down across from us and said, Show me what you've got. I opened Julie's notebook to the first page and slid it across the table. Detective Stokes pulled her glasses down and started reading. After 2 minutes, she looked up at me. Your daughter wrote this? Yes, and it gets worse. She turned the page and found the chart. I watched her eyes move across the columns. Who? What I said? Who believed me? Rating. Her expression didn't change, but her jaw tightened just slightly. Detective Stokes kept flipping pages. She found the section about Sean, read it twice, looked at the date circled in red. This is 3 days from now. That's why we're here today, Sean said. We're not waiting for her to do it. And the laptop? I opened it and showed her the browser history. After carefully looking, Detective Stokes wrote something in her notepad. How old is your daughter? 10. And these other accusations she made? They were all investigated? CPS came to our house 3 times. My brother was interrogated for 8 hours. Her therapist lost her license and her career. I leaned forward. Every single accusation fell apart eventually because Julie couldn't keep her story straight. But by then, the damage was already done. Nobody cares if you're innocent once you've been accused. The accusation is the punishment. Detective Stokes closed the notebook and sat back in her chair. Mrs. Cooper, I've been doing this for 22 years. I've seen a lot of kids who lie. I've seen a lot of parents who think their kids are lying when they're actually telling the truth. She tapped the notebook. I've never seen anything like this. This isn't a kid who lies to get out of trouble. This is something else entirely. Dr. Klein had said the same thing. So you believe us? I believe this notebook exists, and I believe your daughter wrote it. That's enough for me to move forward. She stood up. I'm going to make some calls. There's a process for situations like this. It's going to involve family court and probably a psychological evaluation. It's not going to be quick and it's not going to be easy. But if what you're telling me is true, then your daughter needs help that you can't give her at home. The next 3 days were the longest of my life. We got the call on Thursday morning. Emergency hearing scheduled for Friday at 9 a.m. A forensic psychologist named Dr. Lawrence had reviewed Julie's notebook and laptop history and submitted a preliminary report. The judge wanted to interview Julie separately. We were told to bring her to the courthouse and not to discuss the hearing with her beforehand. That night, I barely slept. I kept running through scenarios in my head. What if Julie charmed the judge the way she charmed everyone else? What if they decided we were the problem and took her side? What if this whole thing backfired and we lost both our kids? Sean held me in the dark and told me it was going to be okay, but I could feel his heart racing against my back. He was just as scared as I was. Friday morning, Julie was confused when we told her to get dressed for court. Why do I have to go? I didn't do anything wrong. Just get dressed, Julie. But I have a math test today. My teacher is going to be mad if I miss it. Get dressed, now. Something changed across her face. Suspicion, maybe, or calculation. She was trying to figure out what we knew and how much trouble she was in. Is this about Dr. Klein? Because I already told everyone what happened. I don't know why I have to keep talking about it. Sean stepped forward. Julie, get dressed. Don't make me ask again. She looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes narrowed, but she went upstairs. When she came back down, she was wearing a pink dress with flowers on it, and her hair was brushed neat and shiny. She looked like the sweetest kid in the world. She looked like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. She looked exactly like what she wanted the judge to see. The courthouse was cold and smelled like old paper and floor cleaner. We sat on a wooden bench outside the courtroom while lawyers walked past talking in low voices. Julie sat between me and Sean, swinging her legs back and forth like this was a fun field trip, instead of the day that would decide her future. Dr. Lawrence came out to talk to us before the hearing started. She was a small woman with kind eyes and a calm voice that made me want to trust her immediately. I've reviewed everything you submitted. The notebook, the search history. I also spoke with Dr. Klein on the phone yesterday. Dr. Klein talked to you? She wanted to help. She told me about her sessions with Julie. The way Julie spent 3 months pretending to make progress just to build trust before destroying her. Dr. Lawrence glanced at Julie, who was staring at a painting on the wall, pretending not to listen. Your daughter shows patterns consistent with callous, unemotional traits. It's rare in children this young. It doesn't mean she's evil or hopeless, but it does mean she needs special attention that goes beyond traditional therapy. What does that mean for today? It means I'm going to tell the judge what I found. The rest is up to her. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Just a judge's bench and a few tables and some chairs. No jury, no audience. Just us and Julie and our lawyer and Dr. Lawrence and a woman from CPS who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. Judge Preston was a black woman in her 60s with silver hair and glasses and zero patience for nonsense. She read through the file in front of her for what felt like forever. Then she looked up at Julie. Young lady, I'm going to ask you some questions and I need you to tell me the truth. Do you understand? Julie nodded with big, serious eyes. Yes, ma'am. Did you write this notebook? What notebook? Judge Preston held it up. Julie's face went pale for just a second before she recovered. That's my diary. You're not supposed to read someone's diary. That's private. Did you write what's inside it? Julie looked at me and I saw anger flash in her eyes. Real anger. The first genuine emotion I'd seen from her in months. Mom gave you my diary? That's so mean. I can't believe you would do that to me. Julie, the judge said firmly, answer my question. Did you write what's inside this notebook? I don't remember what I wrote. It was a long time ago. It was dated 3 weeks ago. Julie's leg started bouncing. Well, I write a lot of stuff. I don't remember everything. You wrote that you accused your uncle of touching you and rated it 10 out of 10 because it ruined his life. Do you remember that? That's not what happened. Uncle Reed really did hurt me. I told the truth about him. Then why did you rate it? Why did you write that his girlfriend leaving and him losing his job made it a successful lie? Julie's face was getting red. I didn't write that. Someone else must have written it. Maybe my mom wrote it to make me look bad. She's always trying to make me look bad. The judge made a note. And Dr. Klein, did she really touch you inappropriately? Yes, she did. I'm not lying. Your notebook says you planned to accuse her because she was getting too close to figuring you out. Those are your words, Julie, in your handwriting. That's not my handwriting. Someone copied my handwriting. This is fake. Julie's voice was getting louder. Her face was twisted with frustration. You're all against me. You always believe adults over kids. That's not fair. Julie, I need you to calm down. No, this is stupid. I didn't do anything wrong. She pointed at me. She's the one who hits me. She's the one who should be in trouble. Not me. I'm the victim here. The judge let her go on for another minute. Just sat there watching while Julie spiraled. I watched too and felt something strange happening in my chest. Relief. For the first time, someone else was seeing what I'd been seeing for months. Someone else was watching my daughter's mask fall apart in real time. Finally, Judge Preston held up her hand. That's enough, Julie. Please sit down. Julie sat. Her chest was heaving and her hair was messed up and her eyes were wild. She didn't look like a sweet little girl anymore. She looked like what she actually was. The judge turned to Dr. Lawrence. Your assessment. Julie shows signs of a serious behavioral disorder. She lies on purpose. She doesn't feel bad about hurting people. And she enjoys watching others suffer because of her. She needs to live somewhere that specializes in helping kids like her. Regular therapy isn't enough, and honestly, it's risky because she's already proven she can manipulate therapists into trusting her. Judge Preston nodded slowly. Then she looked at me. Mrs. Cooper, I want to apologize to you on behalf of this system. You reported your daughter's behavior repeatedly. You told CPS, you told the school, you told the police, and every single time you were dismissed because we are trained to believe children and disbelieve parents. She took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes. Your daughter does need help. Serious help. But you are not the villain in this story. You are a mother who saw something wrong with her child and fought to get her help while everyone around you called you crazy. That takes courage. I couldn't speak. Tears were streaming down my face and I couldn't make them stop. I'm sending Julie to a treatment facility starting today. She's going to be evaluated and get therapy there. Her parents can visit, but only with supervision and only when her doctors say it's okay. The judge looked at Julie, who had gone very still. This isn't me punishing you. This is me trying to help you. You have a chance to get better. I think you should take it. Julie stared at the judge with an expression I'd never seen before. Shock. Disbelief. For the first time in her life, she had lost. Her words hadn't worked. Her tears hadn't worked. Her accusations hadn't worked. The system she'd been gaming for months had finally caught up with her. She turned to look at me and I braced myself for rage or threats or one final manipulation attempt. But instead she just looked small. Confused. Like a little girl who had finally run out of moves. Mom? Her voice was tiny. What's happening? I wanted to feel triumph. I wanted to feel vindicated. But all I felt was tired and sad and hollowed out. This was my daughter, my baby, the little girl I used to rock to sleep and read stories to and love with everything I had. And now she was going to be taken away because she'd become something I couldn't fix on my own. You're going to get help, Julie. Real help this time. I don't want to go. Please don't make me go. I'll be good. I promise I'll be good. The officer stepped forward to escort her out. Julie grabbed my hand and held on tight. Mommy, please. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. Please don't let them take me. I looked at her face, searched for the manipulation, the calculation, the cold, empty thing that lived behind her eyes. But all I saw was a scared 10-year-old who had finally hit a wall she couldn't lie her way through. This is how I help you, I said quietly. This is how I save you. They took her through a side door. She looked back at me one more time before she disappeared. No mouthed words this time, no secret smile, just fear. Sean put his arm around me and I leaned into him and let myself cry. For Julie, for Reed, for Brian, for Dr. Klein, for all the damage my daughter had caused and all the damage I couldn't undo, but also for myself. Because for the first time in almost a year, someone had looked at me and said, "You were right. You were always right. And we should have listened sooner." The facility was 3 hours away in a town I'd never heard of. They told us Julie would be there for at least 2 years, maybe longer depending on how she responded to treatment. 2 years of supervised visits. 2 years of phone calls that got monitored and recorded. 2 years of my daughter living somewhere else because I couldn't keep her safe and I couldn't keep everyone else safe from her. The first week without her was strange. The house was quiet in a way it hadn't been in months. No performances, no manipulation, no waiting for the next lie to drop. Just silence and empty chairs and a bedroom door that stayed closed. Brian was finally home as well. He came to me on the third night. He stood in the doorway of my room in his pajamas holding his stuffed dinosaur and looking smaller than his 8 years. Mom, is Julie ever coming back home? I pulled him onto the bed next to me and held him close. I don't know, baby. Maybe someday. When she gets better. What if she doesn't get better? I kissed the top of his head. Then we figure it out together. After he fell asleep, I walked down the hall to Julie's room. Everything was exactly how she left it. Posters on the walls, stuffed animals on the bed, the floorboard near the closet still loose from where I'd pulled up her notebook. I sat on her bed and opened the drawer of her nightstand and found a stack of photos I'd forgotten were there. Julie as a baby. Julie taking her first steps. Julie on her first day of kindergarten with a backpack bigger than she was and a smile that lit up her whole face. I held those photos and cried for the little girl in them, the one I thought I was raising, the one who turned into something I didn't recognize. I don't know if my daughter can be saved, but I know I saved everyone else.